Welcome to First and Goal, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Get ready for the latest and hottest topics in the SML. Let's get started. Here's your host, Mad Bomber.
This week's episode of First and Goal. This week we've got Primetime 000. We've got Mike FML. We've got Finz making his second appearance, and Dmues. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Much, man. How you doing?
What's up?
A special Monday edition. So we'll jump right into it so everybody can get back to MLB The Show and watching Dan wipe the floor with DW. First down, we're going to talk about Madden 22 team selection. With the draft coming up Thursday, what rookies do you think could make a difference in that Madden 22 team selection? Like, I know for myself, I'm pretty much looking at wherever Justin Fields goes. So what other rookies do you think could have an impact on that? And Prime, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to go with the obvious answer here. Any team that needs a franchise quarterback, this is the draft class where they're going to come out overrated, overhyped, and their development's going to be stupid. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is going to be X factor right off the gate. Justin Fields is going to be great. A few other guys are going to come out, just great. And if you want a team with a young quarterback on a rookie contract where the development's going to be good, it's the best of – it checks all three boxes because you get them right from the start. You know what they're going to be. And the cool thing is the guys who are at the top of the team draft are usually good players, and they're going to get these young quarterbacks, and they're going to be developed really good. So Trevor Lawrence is going to be high rated. Justin Fields is going to be high, and a few other guys are going to be high. So we're going to see these rookie quarterbacks actually hit their potential, whereas in Madden, that doesn't happen a whole lot because in the auto-generated class, because crappy guys get these players and they never develop them.
All right, Mike, what do you think?
I've got a whole spiel here for the most part. I'm looking at this from a team basis. And let's say, for example, a team like Cincinnati, if they go O-line, it doesn't really move the needle for them much. But if they get a playmaker like a Kyle Pitts, Devontae Smith, they suddenly are a great package there to pick pretty early on. After that, you got guys like Jalen Waddle, especially if they go to like a Giants team that's already loaded offensively. And then you got second-generation guys like Asante Samuel Jr., Patrick Surtain second, and J.C. Horn that could get a lot of love from EA just because of their dads. Beyond that, everybody always likes a fast linebacker, Jamin Davis, Micah Parsons. They might get good gradings, and they might be a driving force for somebody that likes to defensively use her, especially in today's present-day Madden, how it's built. You got several players that can really do it. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because a lot of the depth is on like the offensive line and stuff like that, which isn't going to really influence anybody's picks. But you do have several players that can definitely, push a team in the right direction.
All right. How about you, Finz?
I'm going to just kind of jump on what Prime and Mike said. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some players that will move the needle. Like we all know you're going to chase Fields. That at D end who ran like a 4.3 or linebacker that ran like a 4.3 40 who was like 260 pounds, like a guy like that, someone that I can see people kind of going after too. I think the biggest issue here though is it just depends on how they're rated by EA, right? Like EA just tends to, especially running backs, like they tend to kind of nerf them. Like you look at Edwards-Helaire last year. I know his 40 wasn't the greatest, but 87 speed is just brutal for a running back. So I think it's all going to depend on kind of how they're rated by EA. But like Prime, you said like you think Lawrence is going to start off as X factor.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So
100%.
Yeah, like guys like that will be like. What about Wilson? Do you think
he'll be superstar. But I just think that Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys that's been hyped up for 3 years, where EA has just got he's going to be 83. Out the box.
Look at Chase Young. He was the only X factor last year, I think.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. See, so I didn't know that about Chase Young. I got the Chiefs in my other league. So, but yeah. So those top guys will. But again, like it's all going to be depending on how EA rates them. If they're nerfed, then I don't think it'll move the needle much, like Mike said.
All right, and Dmues, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the quarterbacks are definitely interesting, especially when you like think about where they're going to go. So like Zach Wilson going to the Jets makes them a lot more interesting than they were this year with Sam Darnold. Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I think, are going to be good Madden quarterbacks as well. You got to think maybe Denver or New England takes one or maybe both of those guys. And if that happens, both of those teams become a lot more appealing. They both have big holes at quarterback. I think Trey Lance and Wilson are going to have really good throw power ratings, and Justin Fields is going to be super athletic, and so is Trevor Lawrence. So definitely a golden age for rookie quarterbacks in Madden, but also like all the playmakers on the outside, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, guys like that. Kyle Pitts, I think, is going to be insane, especially if he goes to Atlanta at 4, like it's being projected. Suddenly Atlanta would have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts, and that would definitely make them a lot more attractive next team selection. Also going down, just like looking at 40 times, you have J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain at corner. They both ran really good times. They're going to have good speed ratings, good development. They're going to be pretty good right off the bat. Guys love developing young corners. And take a look at, like, this year was KJ Hamler on the Broncos for me, like the later round pick who has insane speed that people take advantage of and really boost the stock. I think that could be Rondell Moore. He ran like a 4.32 40 and had one of the better verticals in the combine. So always take a look for guys like that too, who just are going to have good speed ratings and can be easily developed if you feed them enough on offense.
All right.
One thing I would want to note is like a player like the 49ers, or a team like the 49ers who could take Mac Jones and be pretty boring, or if they take Justin Fields, all of a sudden they're a good team, and then they have a dynamic quarterback, and they're all of a sudden Super Bowl ready for the next 4 years in Madden anyway. George Kittle. It really is interesting how that could swing the pendulum.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm taking Colts number 1.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a mistake that none of us mentioned Mac Jones. Pretty.
You don't think somebody's drafting a team for Mac Jones? Come on now.
What's funny too is I would prefer Justin Fields to go to somebody like Detroit over San Francisco.
More for it's just more interesting from a team build's perspective.
Exactly.
You can really,
For sure.
dig your hands in.
Yep. All right. So topic two. This came up a little bit this week in chat. What are your thoughts on the trash talk, the showboating in games? You got the I don't even whatever the that club, I don't even know what their name is, but they like to showboat and high step in the end zone like they were playing lobby ball. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
This is a loaded question for a lot of things. Obviously, I've got a long history running leagues and doing stuff, and it's hard to police from the top, because you never know what's too far and where to draw the line, because everybody's interpretation of what they think is good and what they think isn't, it's different. So from that point of view, I've always erred on the side of it shouldn't be a part of anything for the most part. Obviously, some friendly trash talk is fine, but it should always remain football related, Madden related, because that's something that, impacts the league play. Anything more personal than that probably shouldn't be involved in the league. And, I'm also okay with the showboating stuff is whatever if you're good with that person. If you know that you have a good relationship and there's a lot of history there to back it up, then, it is what it is in that front. But then you got situations, just to, draw from SML past. I was personally a little, not offended, but annoyed by my appearance on The Truth recently. Mm-hmm. Paulie and I aren't close like that. It's a situation where if it was Bomber and Faz talking about it on the former defunct, now retired Heat Check, it'd be different, because while I'm not close tight friends with either of those guys, we're definitely on good terms, and I got no issues with either of them. Mm-hmm. But my history with Paulie is different. We're not best friends, we are acquaintances, we get along for the good of the league, and that's it. That's why when you get comments like that, you take it to a point where it's like you're saying this stuff just to be dumb, to spark up whatever. But that's again circling right back around why you just cut it down from the start and don't worry about it.
All right, Finz, you're fairly new to the league. I think 54 minutes now. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I tend to kind of side with Mike on this one. Mike and I used to run a league for 5-6 years together, and we were kind of always on the same page. The league that I'm in, that I'm looking forward to being over now, allows it, and for me, it's okay. I'm not too bad with it. But again, it really depends on the player. Like there's a few players in that league that just, they could be down 4 scores and they get a pick 6 and they high step into the end zone and it kind of gets irksome. So I think it's probably best to just kind of cut it off in the beginning. Like Mike said, the trash talking for sure is fine as long as it's lighthearted and it's not personal. Like we saw what happened with Meats and Dump, where things kind of got a little personal and things got heated and Dump left the chat for a little bit. The stuff on the field, if I'm being honest, it doesn't really bother me that much, but it depends on, like, it could be a slippery slope, right? Like I could be fine with it, and then the next owner gets angry about it, and then they start flooding the chat with stuff that just should be taken into DMs and kind of like just takes it public when it didn't need to be. So it's best to probably just not have it.
Okay. Dmues, how about you?
Kind of sounds like we're all going to agree here, so this is going to be a pretty boring answer, but trash talking doesn't really impact me too much as long as it's all fun. I mean, the league should be all about camaraderie. Everyone should be enjoying their time in the chat or playing the game. So as long as it doesn't go too far. I mean, there are obvious points where you should stop if it's becoming personal or if someone's starting to like freak out, just stop it where it is. It's when you take it too far, you take that next step or like won't let something go, that I think that it gets out of hand. So it's pretty hard to like manage and make sure that doesn't happen. But I think it's just a part of competing. I mean, I know NFL players are probably talking trash to each other every single play. So I think there's definitely a place for it, but obviously just don't let it get out of hand. In terms of like the on-field celebrations, I don't really think getting rid of it like takes away any part of the game. So I think it's just better to not have it. Nothing really great is going to come from it. No one's going to be like, that was an awesome celebration. The only thing that's going to come from it are guys getting mad and flooding the chat or like making things personal when they talk trash people. So I just think there's nothing but downside with those like on-field celebrations, and because some guys can take losses, some guys can win better than other guys can. So
all right. And Prime went from two of the newest guys to the oldest guy in here. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So for the showboating in the end zone, running back and forth, that's pretty stupid. As for the running the end zone and showboating, it's never been allowed here. I had considered breaking the rule in the Super Bowl against the former most successful player in Madden history, but I held it in. I think that's one of those things where, like Dmues said, nothing good can come of it. If you try to police it, it's going to be really tough to police, so just don't allow it. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. As for the trash talk, that's something the league actually shifted its tone on. If you actually listen to Playing the Field with Field and Dan, Field made the comment about 2 years in, Field took an absence from the league. And up until that point, we had a no trash talk policy. I mean, nothing. It was PG, Nickelodeon, SML. You can ask NYT. I'm not sure if Mike was there for that or not. And I was like, okay, like Field's gone. Field was doing the only podcast that we need to spice this up a little bit to keep the chat going. So we allowed a little bit of trash talk. We started making more different podcasts, Total Access. And what I found was you could create these personas of people and it drives you late in a cycle. Last cycle it was Sunday. We created this monster out of Sunday, even though he was this quiet dude and he didn't say anything. We've got the Bushwhackers. That creates content, whether you want to or not. People actually mention that and talk about that. And it's a thing. And I think it helps drive you later in the cycle. And it's kind of fun. Now, as for personal attacks and actually trash talking during games, I'm not cool with that. I don't really think that people should actually trash talk during a game. I think that's when tensions spill over. But a day or two later or afterward, if everybody's cool, I don't have a problem with it. But I think most of the trash talk I do is just afterward, like a day or two later, post a dumb tweet, say something on a podcast when I know the tensions are cooled. And I think that's how it should be done. To me, it's just a game. I laugh about it, even if someone's mad. It's a big joke to me. But I can understand how some people would get upset.
It's funny. You mentioned something actually in chat that I kind of thought about, and it made sense. With like the, you don't know who's watching. You don't know what perspective person that may join the league is watching. And if I tune into a game and I see some idiot high stepping through the end zone, on a kickoff, I'm probably moving on to the next league and see what else is out there as opposed to continuing with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the product you're putting on the field is so big. I mean, even on podcasts, like if you're not having mature conversations, you don't know who's watching this even. I know our view counts around 30 to 40, but maybe one guy's watching this. And if we have just idiotic takes, or if we have takes on the league that are bad, somebody's not going to join. So it's definitely interesting when I see guys high stepping back and forth in the end zone. That causes my blood pressure to raise for sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I do expect you to put up 60 on me next time we play, though, Brian.
I'll go for 70.
Okay.
Mike's always watching my games in the other league and making comments about before I was in the SML primer and SML, just like, I can't believe your league allows this, and I can't believe your like commission went for it against me on like 4th and 5 at like a weird time, and he's like, that guy's a commission's just in my ear, just chirping the whole time.
All right, well, that kind of talking about primer there, and we'll start with you, Finz, on this one. But do you think the talent level in the primer or SML is better? And if you think the talent in SML is better than the primer, why do you think so? We'll start with you, Finz.
Feel like this was set up for me to lead off with this question. So if I'm being honest, I think that probably at the top level, yes. Like I would say like Prime, Bomber, Dan, Ollie are probably better than the top in primer. But I would think at Ostrich and Jonesy, because Jonesy's a former champion here. Think the Texans owner in there, the Bengals owner, who seems to be doing fairly well. I think that they would probably make games competitive against the top in the SML. And I think if we're not talking about the top, I think it's probably pretty comparable. For context, though, I'm not currently 9-5 in primer, or 9-6, I think, maybe 9-6. So, and where I've only won one game here. Granted, my roster is a hell of a lot better in Atlanta in the primer than it is here. It is, Mike, you know. But there's still something to be said about user. So I could have the best team in the league and still not do very well against the top guys here. So I would say probably at the top tier, yes. But from that top tier down, it's probably pretty comparable.
Okay. Dmues, you were in a Super Bowl in the primer, weren't you? All right. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I did have some success in primer. I made the AFC Championship year 1 and made the Super Bowl year 2. I've had slightly less success in the SML, but I have won a playoff game both my 2 years here. So that's nothing to snuff at. I think overall the SML is better, and I think the reason kind of makes a lot of sense. I just feel like there's more continuity, so guys are more likely to have their team from the beginning of the cycle to now, and they're more likely to have played their opponents in the past. They're more likely to know what's coming. I think that gives you a lot of advantages to be able to make smart decisions. You can build your roster out how you want it. Everyone plays a little bit differently, so certain guys might be valued differently by different members. Where in primer, you have more guys coming in and out, kind of taking over a team mid-season, mid-cycle. They might not have built the roster like that. They may just not be there very long. Obviously, you have new members joining. You have members getting called up, members getting kicked out. So there's a lot more turnover. I know I was like the newest member here for a couple months, I think, before Finz joined. So there's a lot less turnover in the SML. And I think that continuity with your roster, your draft picks, your opponents all lead to being able to put a better product on the field. So for that reason, I would say the SML has an edge over primer.
Okay. Prime, what do you think? You've played a couple primer games, I know.
Yeah. I actually joined the primer for about a half a game until my wife pulled the plug. I was up on the Straw Blacks. If you're watching, I was spanking you actually. The SML competition's tougher, and the reason why I think is because the model we have is to call up the most active guys in primer, and typically there are exceptions such as Finz, but typically the more active guys are usually really good. Like if there was a chart and you could see activity with wins, most of the time those two things are going to coincide. Now, I don't care if a guy in Primer goes 2-14. I would much rather the guy follow the rules, be a good owner, and be active. But guys who are active win a lot of games, and they don't like talking. If most of the time, they don't like talking if they're losing. Now, you have your tiny titans who don't care. He'll come on, do a podcast, and that's cool. We want guys like that. Maybe not like Tiny because he's a little weird, but like that. Finz is another example where he might go 500, but he might make the playoffs. He might not have Super Bowl aspirations right off the bat, but he does his thing. But in general, I think the competition is better is because we're pulling the good competition because they're so active, and that's why.
Okay. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, this is easy for me to back clean up on. I mean, everybody's pretty much already said it. First to answer the question, is the talent better in Primer or SML? Obviously, it's better in SML. I mean, it's the compilation of years and years of collecting the best people that we can find. Of course, it's from top to bottom going to be a little bit more consistent. And just to piggyback on what Prime said there, we don't promote just the great players. We look for the full package. So, it's a lot more depth up top, but at the same time, we do have a lot of quality guys in the Primer on that level. This isn't any sort of negative toward anybody in the league because obviously, I'm helping to run that one. So I see a lot of gameplay. I see a lot of interaction with all those guys. I got a lot. I know both sides of this battle, so to speak. But I mean, it's silly to think that the overall talent level is going to be higher on the Primer because it's just not. It doesn't have the same history, doesn't have the same length of time that's been established. It's just impossible for that to be, it's apples to oranges at this point. And that's fine. That's what it should be. We're, a developmental league helping to not only solidify the SML, but also present a good gameplay experience for everybody all around.
All right.
If I can just add something too, I think another reason why that the SML is just so well-rounded in terms of talent is because you guys play wire to wire, right? Like a lot of people are kind of like my other league is cycling down now and people are just kind of checking out. Whereas I've been here and for the 2 weeks I've been here or whatever, like this chat is way more active than even my old league when Madden dropped. Like it's hard to keep up with everything and it's great and I love it. But the fact that you guys play wire to wire, you just have so many more reps than most people in Primer because there's a lot more turnover there.
One thing I want to announce, I'm just going to say it right now. SML versus Primer tourney for Madden 22 before the cycle, before the franchise cycle starts. Let's get it going. I'll throw in a $50 gift card to the best man in the bunch. Let's see, Primer, if you're watching, let's see what you guys got.
You need to put your money where your mouth is. Prime, if a Primer guy wins it, make it double.
All right, I'll $100. I don't care because Primer guy ain't winning.
All right, so there it is. Primer versus SML preseason tournament. $100 for the Primer if they can win. All right, so fourth down then. Fourth down, we just had. Speaking of Madden 22, we just had some people talking about their eval process in chat today, and I think it was DW talking about how he wishes that he had a better chance to move up because he joined after the start of the cycle. What are your thoughts on the eval process and how it works? And Dmues, we'll start with you.
Yeah, as someone who'll be picking at the bottom of the Madden 22 team draft, I think it's done right. I think the guys who have been here longer and have tenure, I think they deserve to pick higher. A lot of people in the SML put a lot of work into this league that isn't just picking up the game. They manage the chat. They do evaluations, which is insane. I've never seen that in a league. Like, completely props for that. Like, that's awesome. They take time out of their lives to do that and run the league. And a lot of the guys who have been here for a long time have put a lot of hours and work into it. I've always been a believer in like all the leagues that I've been in that one, the guys who help run everything, and two, the OGs, the people who've been there for a long time deserve to pick at the top. So I have no problem with it overall. In terms of the actual evaluation, just one note that I noticed, there's like an overall activity like section for 5 points, and then all the activities or parts of the league are like listed out separately after that. So you have like social media and scheduling and things like that. And I almost feel like that sort of overwrites itself. But again, I'm newer. I've only been a part of one evaluation, so one of you might explain to me exactly why that is. It's just something that I noticed from a newcomer's perspective. But overall, I have no problem with the way it's done. I think it's the right way to do it.
All right. Mike, we'll go with you next.
I've got a two-part response here. First off, I do support the system in general, just because, I even spoke to you all last year, Bomber. It's about paying your dues first, and then after that first season's out of the way and you're on a clean slate, you're going to be drafting for top 5 forever, and that's just in your personal situation because of all your time that you invest in the league and for all that you do. It's clear to see based on you earning that right that's going to be the case. But on the back end, systems may be a little bit antiquated. A lot of the measuring sticks is stuff that, as we've gotten more and more members, more quality members, it just doesn't apply anymore. Like, everybody's active for the most part. Everybody does their thing on Twitter for the most part. It's a thing for me where the true measurement should be A, sim gameplay, and B, content, because those are the two things that hold up and make the SML what it is. Everything else is more of a reason that people get removed more than a reason that they should be higher, in my opinion. But overall, the system's fine. I don't have any qualms with it. And I fully believe that, if you're not here from the beginning of the cycle, yeah, you're going to be drafting a little bit lower this time. But if you keep up that pace and you do what you're doing here forward, you're going to be a lot higher.
Okay. Finz, what do you think?
Yeah, 54 minutes in the league. I have no say on the evaluation process, right? Like, I'm the new guy, and as I said in chat, I was talking with you guys about this. I'm just happy to be here. To be quite honest with you, I know that's very Canadian of me, and Prime's probably gonna pretend to fall asleep right about now. But I'm honestly just really happy to be here. Like, I think, like what Dmues said, I think coming so late. Shouldn't be picking before a lot of people because you guys have been at this since August and pumping out content and in chat all day, and I've been here really quick, so I'm just trying to move up as far as I can, and I've seen the process. Meat sent it to me, and then Bomber, you sent it to me again today before so I can review it, but I'm just trying to be as active as I can, tweeting as much as I can. I've written one article, plan on writing another one this weekend. Just trying to kind of pump out the content. Even if I pump out tons of content right now, it has nothing to, like, you guys have been pumping out content since August. So it shouldn't really make me move up that far, if it moves up any, because this league is built on, like Mike said, sim gameplay and content. And there's so much quality content here that it just makes sense for me not to move up very much because I've only been here a little bit.
I actually want to bring something up before we get to Prime, because I kind of want him to touch on it. So has there ever been consideration? So if someone puts in 3 seasons, or I don't know, now Finz, I don't know how long you were in Primer, but if someone had been in Primer from the beginning of the cycle and they've put in 5 years in the 5 seasons in the Primer before getting called up. So our season's out of 35. Could you give that I don't know, some sort of supplemental reward, since the Primer is set up in such a way where it's supposed to feed into the SML now, where maybe they could get 15 points per season they did in Primer, so they're not hundreds of points back, and they have some chance to jump people. Again, I just thought of that just now, but just something like that maybe could help some guys who put in their time in the Primer and there just are no openings up here.
All right, probably want to take that first, and then you can answer the.
So I think Dmues had 2 questions. Your first one was why we do social media, why we do. There's 3 activities, and then there was an overall activity. So we like to break it out, and then overall activity kind of covers hey, does this guy join podcast? Does he come on as guest? Is this guy in streams? Is this guy retweeting on Twitter, or not Twitter, on Reddit? Is he commenting on Reddit, upvoting that stuff? That's kind of what that is, just in a generalized activity that I kind of keep an eye on throughout. As for supplemental stuff, last cycle, we had a member. He was the Patriots, a QB stud, great guy. You can go back and look. He just went all out. He commentated games. He donated just tons of money. Just a great guy. Just really helped take the league to the next level. And he was going to be picking probably 24, 25, despite when he was in there. He was hitting that thing hard. So we gave him at least 25, 30 points, enough to get him into the top 15. And I felt that was fair for him. It didn't put him in the top 10, because the guys in the top 10 I think deserve that, but to put them high enough to where, okay, you really shouldn't be picking in the top 20 or in the top 25. The top 15, your effort, you worked hard in primary, you worked hard in the SML. So yeah, we do that. We'll look it over again at the end of this cycle, see where everybody lays. And if there's a guy in the SML who's really just shortchanging it, and if there's a guy who joined late, then we'll do what we have to do. It's not a perfect system by any means. And one thing I'm noticing is, like Mike said, game scheduling, everybody should have a 5 in game scheduling. So instead of making it, I've considered making it a 1 to 10 scale where 10, it's easier, because if you get somebody a 7 instead of a 10, 7 is still all right. But if you give them a 3 instead of a 5, they're going to cry about it because it just looks bad. So I've considered doing that so we can get a little more particular with our grades. I think that's our weak point right now. I think that our grades could be a little bit better. Not everybody's a 5 in gameplay, and I bet about 90% of our leagues got a perfect gameplay score, and that falls on me. So that's going to be my next goal, is to fine tune that to where we can really get particular with our grades and help really spread out that a little bit and really help identify some key problems that we have. And it creates a conversation, and it's only positive things if people can look in the mirror and accept that they have problems.
All right. Did you want to?
Can I add on one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before Prime answers a real question.
Yeah.
Just as an example to answer Dmues' question before, if you're leading the minor leagues in home runs and you get called at the majors, you don't get free home runs on your stat line there. You start fresh. Sure. You got to prove what you're doing before is going to continue on in the SML, which is why I don't personally believe that primer credit should count, just because you're doing what you do to get to where you are, but you have to show that you're going to consistently do that at the highest level to earn that.
Fair enough.
All right, Prime. Did you want to any other thoughts on the eval?
Not really. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's changed the way our league operates just 100%. It's something that's going to continue to grow. And I know people always get upset, and I know the tenure thing's a big deal to some guys, but it has changed the way our league operates. And this was actually Meat's idea. I wish I could say I was smart enough to come up with the idea, but that was Meat's 100%. So, some of the best ideas come from the worst people. And in that case, it was Meat's.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. And it's actually pretty close. We got Dmues with 48, Finz and Mike with 49, and Prime with 45 plus 5. He's got 50. So, Prime, you're this week's winner.
Yes.
So this 30 seconds is all yours to continue to rant.
I'm honored. I just want to say America is the best country because we have shows like this. Finz, thank you for coming on and not distorting your mic again. Mike, as always, thank you for being around the most successful Madden player of all time. And Dmues, hey, you keep doing your thing. Let's meet up in a Super Bowl. And what's Finz got? I see his phone.
And
just the Canadian national anthem for you.
Cut the video.
It sounds like your mic last time.
That sounds terrible.
All right, guys. Thanks for being on. This has been First and Goal. Till next week. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to First and Goal. Be sure to check out Mad Bomber TV on Twitch and YouTube for the latest from the SML. And we'll see you next time on First and Goal.